Hey everybody, it's Eddie J on Crypto for GrowMyBag.tv. Hope you're having a good one. What's good? What's good? What's good? So what was supposed to be a boring week, a basically dead week, has turned into not such a boring week. But I do have a new question for tonight's poll. What buy now, pay later platform is about to introduce a new stable coin? Because that's what we need. Be nice if I knew how to spell platform and stablecoin. Those are both cute things. Question mark. Is it Affirm, PayPal, Afterpay, or other? And if it's other, you know what to do. You're going to put it in the comments. Bam. Aloha, aloha, aloha. Thank you for letting us know that you invested in yourself. You know how important that is to me. So again, tonight's question: what buy now, pay later platform is about to introduce a brand new stablecoin? Affirm, one of the biggest in the world, by the way. PayPal, again, another one of the biggest in the world, by the way. Afterpay or other. My man Rick Ritchie in his house. That is what's up. You know, if you watch the videos, I asked about you. You came close to getting a phone call, young man. Wellness check. I have an echo. Hold on a second. Let me check the microphone that I'm using. You sure it's not you? I only have one microphone. Aloha, how do you hear me? Do you hear me all right? Did it go away yet? Just wondering. It's going to bite if I have an echo. It's absolutely going to bite if I have an echo. I only have the one microphone. Bianca in his house. Bianca, young lady, have you invested in yourself today? You know the drill. Paula Mortimer in his house. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for letting me know you invested in yourself. Max Salas, have you invested in yourself? Anyway, let's get to the news. There's a lot to cover, a heck of a lot to cover. Again, tonight's question: what, and only answer the company, what buy now, pay later platform is about to introduce a brand new stablecoin? Affirm, PayPal, Afterpay, or other. If it's other, put the name of the company into the comments. That's all we need. All right, Bianca, that's what I'm talking about. No echoes. Cool, thank you. I got to keep going because I can't hear anything. Oh, other, you don't know. Good man, Max. Good man. All right. So, what news do we have in house today? So, you know, I was talking about tariffs earlier today, right? And somebody got on me because they were like, you know, bourbon can only be made in the United States. In my head, I was like, you missed the whole flipping point. The point was, here is a world-renowned company that is going to close its doors and completely pause business for a year. And it's because, yeah, exactly that. It's Jim Beam. They didn't shut down. They shut down, but they're not going out of business. They're just shutting down for a year. But why did they shut down for a year? Or why are they shutting down for a year? Oh, yeah, that's right. Tariffs. Tariffs is what's doing it. And this guy, or this person, I don't know if it's a girl or a guy, or a bot, I have no idea. But this person came at me, you know, bourbon can only be made in the United States. And I was like, dude, do you know what channel this is? This is not a liquor channel. This is a channel where we're discussing investment. And I just sat there and I was like, you've got to be freaking kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. You missed the whole point. The whole point is that tariffs are killing small businesses. They're killing big businesses. Tariffs are no bueno. And it's being proven on a daily basis. Again, it's not about the alcohol, so you can remove both of those comments. It's about the fact that you have a company who's had their products removed from shelves. You've had their products drop in sales, all over retaliatory tariffs and sentiment. They didn't have to take their product off the shelves in Canada, but they did. And some took it beyond that and didn't just take it off the shelves. They busted the bottles. So when you look at these tariffs, when I tell you to make a list of everything that's going on, again, I'm going to say it just the same way I said it this morning. It's not just a matter of making a list of what we think is coming, but we also have to include what's already there. And these tariffs are already here. We're just not talking about them anymore because there's so much else going on. But if you're paying attention to your bag, if you're doing what you're supposed to do and practicing GMB3, doing your own research, knowing your, entries and exits, and absolutely investing deliberately, you know that we still have things on the books that we still have to fix. Like, somebody had made mention to me, how could I possibly think that next year is going to be a problem? You have, 1,800 people, 1,500, it's either 1,500 or 1,800 people that are going to be out of work for the next year. 1,500 people that are going to be out of work for the next year. What are those people supposed to do? Well, their jobs are hanging on a hook somewhere, waiting to be, resurrected. What are they supposed to do? Is that a big number compared to the 1.1 million that we've already lost? No, not in the grand scheme of things, right? It's not a huge thing. Except to those people, it is the biggest thing. They're out of work. In a state that doesn't really generate a lot of money. And by that I mean there are not a lot of jobs in that state that can be found. Yeah, we have not solved that problem yet. So I just wanted to make that note, just, for anybody that's listening that might have that thought that it was a statement about liquor, about alcohol. No, it's a statement about tariffs. It's a statement about how companies are being hurt. Right? That's the big deal. That's honestly the biggest deal. And then, as an offshoot, I heard something about there used to be, a ton of companies that sold seed. Now all the seeds that farmers use in Arkansas, there are no more seed companies in Arkansas. Bayer, which bought Monsanto, and one other company, that's where you can get your seed. All of those seeds die off. You want to know what's worse? All of the seeds that you buy from whichever company only work with that company's chemicals. Think about that. So if you've bought that company's seed, you also are locked in to buy that company's chemicals. And I was listening to it because it happened to be on a news show, a business show, and it was all about Arkansas. And I sat there and I was like, wow. So imagine where most of the states that do farming are red states. Imagine. And our country, the whole country, while we weren't looking, allowed this to happen. Literally, these companies have taken small farms to court, because seeds blew onto their land. Literally, seeds blew onto their land and sprouted. And they were told that they had to pay, I think it was Bayer or Monsanto, one of the two. They were told they had to pay because they blew onto their property. So now, are we going to have to pay somebody because rain fell on our property? I bring this up because when I look at farmers right now, how do farmers survive? And to bring it home to you, think about losing your business to a country that immediately stepped in to take over where you could no longer. Imagine that. So when soybean farmers here lost China as a customer, who are we giving $40 billion to? Yeah. And those farmers have to pay for seed. So they're promised that somebody's going to buy some more of their product going forward. But here's the big problem. Bigger problem is they have to buy the seed now to plant. So they could be over a barrel again 2 years in a row. Can you imagine? I'm bringing this up because I'm still wondering, how do we solve these problems when nobody's even thinking about them anymore? How do we solve these problems if nobody's thinking about them anymore? Just wondering. So for a year, because the Canadians aren't drinking, nobody's drinking. And that's the other part. Do you know that around the world, less and less people are drinking? That's another reason. So not only do you have to deal with normal, changes in business climate, but here's this self-induced problem to layer on top of that. How do you plan? How do you plan? And I'm not saying woe is me for all the farmers. I'm just laying out the facts. I'm literally just laying out the facts. And I'm just wondering, so when do we figure all this out? So like I said, when you figure out the risks, okay, and you figure out the positives for next year, don't leave out the things that are already here and already causing a problem. We have not solved all of that. We have not cut deals with everybody that we have tariff issues with. Massive little problem, right? Just saying. They're solving them with the worst solution called 3D printing of food. Don't get me on Campbell's. Don't get me on Campbell's. You see how quickly that came and how quickly it went away? Here's the problem. You got to go and look at everybody. Let me rephrase. In the United States, it's harder for you to find the actual food than it is for you to not find fake food. Fake lettuce. I literally was watching some channel and they were showing how they make fake lettuce. I want you to just let that wash over you for a minute. Lettuce is so easy to grow and they're selling fake lettuce. Yeah, that. And then I saw another one where they're selling fake seafood, scallops being made of, wherever you go to buy your scallops, there's a greater chance that those scallops are not real, that they're just fish sludge. Yeah. High-end restaurants, low-end restaurants. Yep. You could be eating fish sludge. It's literally a sludge. So think of bologna. It's literally a sludge. They press it out, chop, chop, chop. Acts like scallops, tastes like scallops. But who actually knows what a scallop tastes like anymore? You ever watch The Matrix? That's why everybody said that. That's why everything tastes like chicken. Ta-da! We live there now, at least in the United States. How's that for scary? Just want to look to see if I missed anything. Dark Horse, thank you for letting us know that you invested in yourself. Imitation crab did start it. Or that was one of the ways it started. The real way it started was corn syrup. That's the real genesis of it all, corn syrup. And if you go back and you look at all that, that's when, if you could look back at a point, that was the moment that you could actually say they no longer understand or even know the definition of enough. It's not enough. I heard somebody say that these companies are out here pulling major profit, executives are pulling major bonuses in other countries outside the United States. You're not allowed to have layoffs if you're profitable. Think about that. No, you can't have a layoff and you're profitable. Have you lost your mind? Nope. Not a thing. Illegal in some countries. Think about that. But here, we can't find real food. And it's against the law. In some states, it's against the law to buy your seeds from someplace else. Yep. Arkansas is one of them. You want to grow soy? You want to buy some seeds that don't come from one of those two big companies? Nope. Think about that. It's hard for us to get clean water. It's hard for us to get real food. And we're having layoffs done by companies that aren't just a little bit profitable, but that are very profitable. There should be a law against that. I'm digging that idea. Hadn't thought about it before, but now that I am, that's a really good idea. And it's almost, how dare you? It's almost a how dare you moment that you're going to introduce layoffs and you're profitable. Now, some companies, you can actually see that you might be pulling a profit, but you can also see the projections coming up that, hey, you're not doing so well, or you're not going to be doing so well. So you can kind of see it coming. But these companies that we're talking about that are having layoffs, no, that's nowhere near being in sight. Nowhere near. And you're talking about millions and billions being made. So when I look forward, we had 1.1 million this year. How much are we looking at next year? I mean, AI is not the end all. Business process, right? Business process optimization and evolution is a service that my company provides. And we will come to your company, review, identify, and help you identify and review with you your current business processes and see if we can make those processes more efficient or even evolve or optimize those processes, right? And then we look at the tools that are in our toolbox. One of the newest tools is automation. Another new tool, even newer, automation has been around for like 20 years, but not everybody can do it. The newest tool is artificial intelligence. So looking at all the tools in our toolbox, can we help you save time, save money? Right? So aside from business climate that's going on right now, you've got to look at, we're just going to get rid of people because, artificial intelligence can do that job. AI can't really do the job. AI doesn't think. AI performs math. It performs math, and it only performs math well in certain situations. But everybody is jumping on board that bandwagon that we don't need these people because, son, that's not the way it works. It's not the way it works. And AI is not taking all those jobs away. Like, AI is useful in certain situations, but not in all, not nearly in all. And that's one of the risks that I have for next year. How many tasks can be removed by AI, and how many companies are actually coming out and saying, listen, we know we're going to have to get rid of some people, but we'd really like to retrain those people in other areas that can make us more productive. I'm looking for companies that are doing that. And the reason why is because that company is demonstrating a certain level of creativity to problem solving. Because what was the problem? We need to become more efficient. What's part of the solution? We're going to implement automation and artificial intelligence to help us get there. What's the other problem? We may have to get rid of a lot of people. Well, instead of getting rid of a lot of those people, what else can we do? That right there is the biggest question. And I heard the CEO of Goldman Sachs say, listen, say exactly that. We know we're going to have to get rid of a bunch of people, but we're going to figure that out. Then I look at all the stable coins that are coming and how they can be used. I look at who's introducing those stable coins. I'm listening to countries say that the EU literally just said today, hey, we're ready to rock and roll with a digital euro. They said the other day that testing was done, but now they're saying, okay, we're probably going to move forward with a digital euro online, digital euro offline. Did you hear what I just said? That should have everybody thinking like this. Do your own research, know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately. Those are the three things that I'm thinking of right now. This is not for free market capitalism. I buy from companies I trust to provide quality goods and services. How the hell do you find those? I'm not trying to be funny, Dark Horse. I'm not. But how do I identify that anymore? I just answered your farmer's question. Good. Yes, it means off-chain. Well, I don't actually, you know what? I don't know if it means off-chain. I'm not 100% sure if it means off-chain. Because if it changes hands, it has to be on-chain, right? At some point, it has to reconnect and boop, boop. It has to do something like that. So I'd have to go read to see what that is, but that's literally what they just said today. So they're going to do their digital euro. They have rules for stable coins that they'd like to shore up as well. And then you also have, but what was the question on farmers, by the way? So what will happen if U.S. farmers just stop farming? Wow. I'm going to tell you what will happen. I'll tell you in a minute. Just looking around the world, how do I identify those companies that are producing good products and services? Where are they allowed to produce good products and services? Because I've given you examples in the past about what happens with good products and services. So I introduced to you, a week or two ago, actually for a long time, I've said it a couple of times. China has great cars. How do so many people believe that China produces crap? How do so many people believe that, but are constantly buying from China? Most of the things in your house made in China. From luxury all the way down to grocery store stuff. How do you say that? Right? They'll tell you in your face, oh, products from China are the worst. That's why you have to buy this Italian Gucci bag for $1,500. And then you find out that it was made in China for $50. How are you supposed to know what's good and what's bad? Just wondering. Asking for a friend, if you will. So you start to figure it out. You start to get there and you start going to yourself, wow, how do I identify those companies? And then why is it that we don't seem to want any kind of product that could be better than the products here? I believe it was true that the Ford CEO said if Chinese cars come here, U.S. automakers could be cooked. Imagine. That's not a small thing. That's a big thing. Right? Why is it that these Chinese automobiles can do so much for so little? And you go, well, the country's, subsidizing some of them. Let's run with the idea that they are. With the amount of money that some of these car manufacturers here in the United States do and how we did subsidize them in the past, how come they haven't introduced any of that technology? Yeah. What's up, Heat Score? So you start to think about things a little bit differently, about how products from overseas could be better than the products here. Nobody wants to import our food. They want to import our produce. Soybeans, great. They'll import our soybeans. They'll import certain things. Other than that, they don't want it. All the stuff that we're allowed to use here, You're allowed to use it until otherwise told no, is our rule here. Overseas, you are not allowed to use it. Pesticides, anything. You're not allowed to put it in food unless you are explicitly told yes. Drastically different, isn't it? Have you not been amazed by how people in other countries are so thin and seemingly fit, but here in the United States, they're fat like me? So yeah, how do we find it? The VA is being asked to list which job openings that have gone unfilled for over 1 year that current staff can continue to work with those jobs being filled, without those jobs being filled. That is utterly disgusting to me. We're skimping on the very people who have sacrificed the most. You have no idea how much I feel disgusted by that. Yeah. My brother's got back problems. He's a war veteran. He's got back problems. He's got to constantly fight to get the benefits that are owed to him. Not due to him. Owed to him. Owed. Because he used to run around with pounds on his back. Basically another human being on his back. During warfare, real warfare. And he's got to battle all the time to get his benefits. And they're going to ask people at the VA, how much longer can you do? Can you keep going without these jobs being filled? Yeah. And if you just make a list of all of those tiny little things, not allowed to buy seed, not allowed to have competitive products here, which drive competition, which drives better products, which might actually drive prices down. Right? So if you add up each one of those things, make a list of each one of those things, they each represent problems that must be fixed. You see anybody working on those things? I don't see anybody working on those things. So a couple of weeks ago, I had said that sometimes you get to a fork in the road and you go down this path. And our path was greed. Our path was not defining enough. And so we're so far down that road that nobody wants to raise their hand and say, we need to get off this path. Let's go make a right-hand turn and get back onto the path that actually has a future. Because the path that we're on does not paint for me a great future. We're firing seemingly on all the wrong pistons. So when Japanese cars came here, remember Datsun? When Japanese cars came here, everybody had to step up their game. Japanese cars first came in cheap, quick, all that good stuff. U.S. automakers had to respond to that. And then they came out with better cars, and U.S. automakers had to respond to that. European cars, BMWs, all that good stuff, Benz, Audi, all that good stuff, came in with higher end cars. Guess what? We kind of, sort of responded to that. Kind of, sort of. But name a car brand in the United States that's actually a luxury car. That isn't just this car with a different badge. Hard to do, isn't it? And then when you walk into those dealerships, are they only selling those luxury cars? Rarely. And what do those dealerships look like? Because even though they're selling luxury vehicles, they don't look like how they look when you walk into a BMW dealership or a Mercedes-Benz dealership. So did we really respond to that? No, we just said we're going to keep this middle market, and that's good enough. That's when we decided that's enough. That's when we decided that's enough. Meanwhile, in China, they literally have a car that will turn its wheels almost 90 degrees to pull you straight out of a tight spot so you can drive off, so you're no longer blocked in. Yeah. You want a Maybach? They've got a Maybach there that's less than 100 grand. Looks like, drives like, probably has better stuff than. Just saying. Just saying. Just pointing out the obvious. So, other news that we have. Coinbase has bought, what's the name of this company? The Coinbase has bought the clearing company. The clearing company is a Polymarket competitor. They're getting deep into it. Very deep. The logo is all you're paying for. That's all you're paying for. There's almost no difference. There's almost no. They'll tell you. I remember I was looking at a Ford versus a Lincoln Navigator, right? A Ford Expedition versus the Lincoln Navigator. And they were like, oh, well, the Lincoln Navigator has way better, suspension. And I was like, this is the high end Ford, isn't it the same? Well, it's a hair off. Would my butt feel the difference? No. I'll take the Expedition. Just saying. Just saying. Oil prices fell to $58.92. Brent Sweet 50. That was for Brent Sweet, and 55.27 for WTI. That's interesting. JP Morgan is reviewing their crypto strategy amongst regulatory shifts, including a new stablecoin rule, right? JP Morgan is already deep into crypto. They're not looking at things as if they haven't been doing it for years, because they have been. JP Morgan is evaluating what else they can do. While other banks and investment banks are goofing around, JP Morgan is playing chess. Not mahjong, but chess. Now, here's where I think, Jamie Dimon screwed up. They had a chance to buy Kraken, and they didn't. Everybody thought they were going to buy Kraken, and they didn't. Or, well, no, it was Robinhood, and they didn't. They bought something else. They didn't buy Robinhood. And I was like, everybody was kind of astonished. Like, how do you not buy Robinhood? You had the chance. Why didn't you? I would have. I'd have snatched them up like in a heartbeat. Bitmine is now the largest Ethereum treasury in the world. When I look at people and they tell me, oh, I don't know anything about crypto, and they don't want to learn about crypto, I sit there and I just kind of go, These are the same people that when we were kids didn't like credit cards. What do we care about credit cards? And now, what do? Credit cards, debit cards, normal way of doing business. The difference with crypto, the digital assets, is you could be making money off of it rather than just using it. If they go to sleep on it, by the time they wake up, they'll only have the ability to use it, not make money off of it. We'll be making money off of them. I mean, heck, we already are making money off of them. How's that one sound? Doesn't sound pretty, does it? No, not at all. XRP saw $1.55 billion in 7 days trading volume on South Korea's Upbit. One exchange, the highest volume. One exchange, the highest volume. I have to go look again to see the distance between Bybit and Binance. Binance is the largest in the world. So I'm curious to see what the distance is from a Bybit to a Binance. Are they number one? Are they number three? You know what I mean? And then what's the dollar difference between them? What's the delta between them? Because that to me is interesting. It is very interesting. Tokenized U.S. Treasury reached $7 billion in market cap as of now. as of now. Next year, it'll be multiples higher. Multiples. No doubt. No doubt. Everybody wants to do it. Why? Cuts out a lot of middlemen. Cuts out a lot of that middle layer from having to do anything. Vive la différence. Big difference there. And I'm telling you, it's actually also very much a big deal. Pay attention to these things. They're sitting right there dead in front of us as true lessons on what to do, what not to do, what is possible and what has not been figured out yet. Not impossible, just what has not been figured out yet. There are opportunities. Do your own research, know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately. Signs are there all the time. Binance paid $4.368 billion to settle a U.S. regulatory violation. We know that. With leaked documents revealing $1.7 billion in transactions involving sanctioned entities and $144 million in suspicious activity. Yo, Ham's house, GMB3, that's what I'm talking about. Have you invested in yourself? That's right, you have. Good man. What else we have going on? Ghana has legalized cryptocurrency trading under Bank of Ghana regulation. Some people might sit back and go, oh, that's not a big deal. Ghana's got a burgeoning economy. It's a big deal. Africa is where it's at. People aren't talking about it that much because a lot of people don't want to admit it, but Africa is where it's at. Burgeoning economies, rich with natural minerals and things like that the world needs. Wow. Wow. Ghana's got oil too. Just saying. Apple was fined $96.6 million euro for enforcing stricter privacy rules on third-party developers in the EU. Solana Mobile has halted updates for its Saga smartphones, shifting focus to the Seeker devices, meaning the first Sagas. But truthfully, nobody bought them for the phone. Nobody bought them for the phone. They all bought them for the free Solana. That's why they bought them. So if the phone drops, nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to give a rat's behind about it. They'll be like, yeah, okay, fine. They're not going to care. I know I wouldn't. And like I said, the EU and ECB confirm a digital euro design with online and offline variants, addressing security challenges and regulatory hurdles, including proximity requirements and enforcement of physical privacy. Except the government will be able to look at everything. Just saying. Just going to put that out there for you. And once again, I said it this morning, Ray Dalio criticized Bitcoin as a store of value, which, if you look at how it's been performing, that's a good case, citing that it's inferior compared to gold. Based on how it's been performing this year, yeah, you could kind of say that. But if you look back a few years, not so true. Not so true. But everything, you have to take everything with a dash of salt, right? Ray Dalio is one of the smartest people on the planet when it comes to, financial responsibility and knowledge. So don't take things out of context. Just go read his book. Go read his book and you'll see what's going on. Hopefully we're not going to repeat 1929, but I wonder if, and this is going to sound really, really dark, I wonder if 2026 or 2027 is going to look like, feel like, act like 1929. We've got several bubbles that are going on right now that if they all, and it's the first time they've all been a bubble at the same time, right? And if one goes, they all go. And if they all go, it'll be worse than the Depression. Yeah. Think about that. Well, they've got you busy looking around, turning your head at every new problem that's going on. They're keeping your mind off of the bubbles that are out there. That when one goes, they're all probably going to go. And if they all go, that's a massive problem. So if you've got dry powder, good for you. If you're overweighted in stocks, you might want to do some research. If you're overweighted in crypto, you might want to do some research. Precious metals might be a place for you to be interested in. Gold and silver have both hit brand new all-time highs. Hutanic normally notes that. He's playing hooky today, so, just saying. But yeah, that's where we are right now. It's all no joke stuff. None of this is for the faint of heart. None of it. That's why you have to do your own research. You must know your entries and exits. And you absolutely must invest deliberately. These are not small things. These are not favors that I'm asking you to do for me. These are things that I'm asking you to do for yourself. There's a lot going on, a heck of a lot going on. And you need to be kept abreast of it. And the only way that that's going to happen is if you look at the news. And like I always say, don't just look at the news here in the United States. Look at the news everywhere. When you go to growmybag.tv, we've curated news from around the planet that we think is going to affect us, affect our bags. So, and some people say, well, how come you haven't put the sources on? It's a field. We haven't added the field to the layout yet, but we're going to. MoonPay was recently hacked. Shocker there. There's not a company on the planet that cannot be hacked. It might be harder, but I don't believe that there's a company or entity on the planet that cannot be hacked. That's my mindset. It's sort of like, you and your friend, not even your friend, you and a bunch of people are being chased in the woods by a lion. I don't have to be the fastest. I just can't be the slowest. That's it. I just can't be the slowest. You got to be faster than the slowest person. That's it. Even if it's just a hair faster. So think of security like that. You got to be faster than the slowest person. Be careful of what you download. Stop scanning QR codes that you can't 100% trust. They tell you on a television, oh, scan this QR code and you'll be able to. I'll scan that QR code from a phone that doesn't do anything else other than dumb stuff. Like has no finances on it. I'll scan using that phone. I'll scan using that camera. Nothing else. That phone doesn't do anything else. I don't scan QR codes. I don't scan stuff like that. You go to the gas station and there's a QR code sitting there. Yeah, we don't play that. Nope. Do not scan those barcodes. Do not scan anything. That's silliness. Get yourself in trouble. Anyway, tonight's question, which I found to be interesting. What buy now, pay later platform is about to introduce a new stablecoin? Affirm, PayPal, Afterpay, Other. Now, for everybody that said PayPal, you probably want to go slap yourself right now because PYUSD is already here. I'm not trying to be mean. 14 votes, that's pretty awesome. Not trying to be mean, but PYUSD is already here and it's about $3 billion in market cap. Affirm, no. Afterpay, no. It is indeed, as 8paws said, it is Klarna, the world's largest such company. Now, when you think about how it can be used, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. I kept telling you guys, PayPal is going to get used because they have a captive audience. RLUSD is going to get used because it has a captive audience, right? When I look at Klarna, I'm like, oh my Lord, that is going to be used. And you want to know who they're working with to actually introduce it? Drum roll, please. Coinbase. Because Klarna is going to be backed by USDC. Klarna USD. Yep. How's that for a shock? Just saying. That's a big move by Klarna. A really big move. Again, and I'll say it every day, what I'm looking for is traction with infrastructure, traction with implementation, and traction with retail use. By the time I get to retail, I could care less about investment because they're either awake to what's going on or they're still snoring. Either way, it's retail use. Go do your research on how long it took for credit cards to actually gain a foothold in the United States, that concept. And then go look at how long it took for online purchases to be used. And then I want you to start thinking about crypto. Crypto is going to start to be used in big ways, big ways, and not just stable coins. Start with stable coins. I think stable coins, Bitcoin, Ethereum, right? XRP, maybe even Solana, Cardano if they woke up and got the right marketing team, BNB. So there are certain coins that I think are going to fall into that. Yeah, those are going to be used alongside stable coins. Just saying. I've watched documentaries and books about 1929. It's scary the way the stock market is behaving, and attitudes behind those companies' actions are basically the same. Basically. Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan, the Sun. Yeah. Similarities? Hell, you could probably take one out and put it in the other one's body. But you're right. Things from 1929 are playing themselves out again. They're playing themselves out again. Look at all the players that are out there. Everything that we're talking about right now is not a U.S. problem. It is a global problem. We just happen to carry the most debt. But countries are already saying, we don't want your debt anymore, and they're dumping. Go do some research on the fall of a fiat. Go to Rome, go to the UK. Look at China's rise, the dollar's fall. Except it's not going to be China, right? It's going to be BRICS. But I think China comes out on top like that. And when you stop and look at, what's going on with the rupee in India, because trade talks have kind of stalled, you're looking at economies that, there aren't that many economies left in the world that are actually doing well. How's that for scary? How's that for scary? I don't think BRICS is gonna kick our tail. It'll eat some lunch, might leave a couple of dishes. But at best, at that point, what you're going to wind up with are two buckets. You're going to have two buckets, right? And with those two buckets, you also have this third horseman that comes along called digital assets. Everybody's so focused on stablecoins, which is why I said there are going to be certain crypto, certain digital assets that will be right alongside stablecoins in terms of usage. there's no way in the world that you're not going to accept Bitcoin. And everything's built on freaking Ethereum, right? So how do you say no to that? XRP is the next batter up. Then you've got BNB, because you have so much that has been built upon BNB that you can't say no to that either. And then you start to realize, holy moly, there are going to be certain cryptos that are going to be able to be used. Then you get into the privacy tokens. Monero, Dash, Zebek. You just have a few that are out there. I'm sorry, Zcash. And you sit there and you're just like, holy moly. And you see how quickly they can be implemented. And then, again, the next question has got to be, when will countries around the world wake up to the fact that they've got problems? They've got larger problems than each other's fiat. They've got to figure out what's going on with crypto. And one of the reasons why they all want to have rules and regulations around stablecoins and CBDCs is because they don't really want the world to see how they're spending their money. It's a two-way street. If you can see us, we can see you. You see how that flows? I'm waiting for the first national government, the first truly state-level government that's actually going to accept stablecoins as payment. The ones that are going to accept Bitcoin as payment, any kind of digital asset as payment. That's going to be interesting. I don't think enough governments around the world have the right people at the table trying to figure it all out. It's a mess. Anyway, this is Eddie J on crypto for growmybag.tv. Hope you like what I'm doing. If you do me a favor, smash the likes, tell your friends about this community. And if you have not had a chance, go to growmybag.tv and check out some of those articles that we've got going on. I'm pretty sure you're going to find them to be quite helpful and enlightening. Everybody, thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. And as always, thank you for your trust. Everybody, have a good one. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.